Section 1. The biggest wealth lie you've been told. Approx. 6-7 minutes. Hook. What if everything you've been told about building wealth is wrong? You've probably heard it your entire life. Work harder, put in more hours, outwork everyone else, and success will come. It sounds inspiring, but what if that advice is actually keeping millions of people trapped? Think about it. The construction worker sweating in the summer heat, the janitor working overnight, the single parent juggling 2 jobs. These people work incredibly hard, yet many of them never become financially wealthy. Meanwhile, someone sitting behind a laptop can earn more in a single day than others make in an entire month. So here's the uncomfortable question. If hard work alone creates wealth, why aren't the hardest working people the richest? Today, we're breaking down the mindset shift that separates people who stay stuck from those who steadily build wealth over time. And one idea in particular could completely change how you think about your career, your income, and your future. Hard work isn't the multiplier. Let's clear up something important. Hard work absolutely matters. Nothing meaningful is built without effort. But effort alone isn't what creates extraordinary wealth. Imagine 2 people. The first spends 12 hours a day doing physically demanding work. The second builds a business system that serves millions of customers. Who earns more? Not necessarily the person working the longest hours. Why? Because wealth isn't determined only by effort. It's determined by value, leverage, and scale. That's why someone can work fewer hours while creating dramatically more income. The world's wealthiest people aren't simply working harder. They're creating systems, assets, products, and opportunities that multiply the value they create. That's a completely different game. The question almost nobody asks if you're an employee. There's one question that can instantly change your career. Instead of asking, how can I get a raise? Ask this, how do I actually make this company money? Most employees never think about this. They focus on completing tasks, checking boxes, following instructions. But top performers think differently. They understand exactly how their work impacts revenue, profits, or growth. And once you know that, everything changes. Because now, you're no longer asking for more money based on how hard you worked. You're asking based on the value you've created. That's a completely different conversation. Imagine telling your manager, I'd love to understand how my role contributes to the company's success. If I could increase that impact, how could I grow within the company? That's the language of someone thinking like a business owner instead of just an employee. Stop trading time, start creating value. Most people spend years trying to become busier. The wealthy focus on becoming more valuable. There's a huge difference. If you can save a company money, generate new customers, improve efficiency, or solve expensive problems, you become incredibly difficult to replace. And that's where real earning power begins. Your paycheck should never be based only on your time. It should increasingly reflect the value you create. That's why learning new skills is often more profitable than simply working longer hours. Skills compound, experience compounds, relationships compound, reputation compounds, hours don't. The biggest career mistake most people make: whenever people feel frustrated, they often assume the solution is simple. I'll just find another job. Sometimes that's the right decision, but sometimes it's the most expensive mistake you can make. Why? Because every time you leave too quickly, you may also leave behind opportunities you haven't fully explored, better responsibilities, leadership experience, negotiation skills, internal promotions, higher compensation. Many people jump before they've even had the conversation. Instead of asking, where else can I contribute? They quietly update there are some. Sometimes staying long enough to increase your value is far more rewarding than constantly starting over somewhere new. Growth often comes from solving bigger problems, not changing buildings. Think bigger than your current job. Picture someone laying bricks. At first, they simply place one brick after another. Over time, they learn to build entire walls. Eventually, they design buildings. And someday, they might design entire cities. That's how careers grow. Not by working faster, But by thinking bigger, as your perspective expands, your income often follows. Companies don't pay the highest salaries simply for effort. They reward people who see opportunities others miss. People who solve complex problems. People who create strategy instead of just completing tasks. The bigger your vision, the greater your value becomes. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that almost everyone has access to the same knowledge you do. Need to write a report? AI can help. Need marketing ideas? AI can generate hundreds in seconds. Need to learn a new skill? The information is only a few clicks away. So here's the question. If knowledge becomes available to everyone, what will actually make someone valuable? The answer isn't working longer hours. It's thinking differently. And that's exactly where the next generation of wealth will be created. Why AI is changing everything for decades. Success often came from knowing information that other people didn't. Today, that's changing rapidly. Artificial intelligence is making average-level work easier than ever before. Writing, research, data analysis, content creation, millions of people can now produce decent work in minutes. That means simply doing more won't make you stand out anymore. Instead, the highest paid people will be those who combine knowledge with creativity, judgment, leadership, and original thinking. Anyone can use AI to generate ideas. Very few people can turn those ideas into real businesses, solve complex problems, or create something people truly value. The future belongs to people who know how to think, not just people who know how to work. Sprint like a lion, don't graze like a cow. One of the most powerful ideas shared in this conversation compares two very different ways of working. Most people live like cows. They work continuously, always busy, always occupied, always moving, but rarely making significant progress. High performers operate differently. They work like lions. They attack important opportunities with intense focus. Then they recover. Then they prepare for the next opportunity. It's not about staying busy every minute. It's about directing your energy where it creates the biggest results. Productivity isn't measured by exhaustion. It's measured by impact. The 3 rules of money most people never learn. Here's the surprising reality. We use money every single day. We earn it, spend it, save it, borrow it. Yet most people never receive a proper education on how money actually works. According to the discussion, understanding 3 simple principles can completely change how you see wealth. Rule number 1. Money flows to the investor. Think about every purchase you make, whether it's a meal, a coffee, or a new phone. Where does the profit ultimately go? Not primarily to the employee serving you. It flows to the people who own the business, the shareholders, the investors. That's why one of the biggest financial shifts a person can make is moving from being only a consumer or only an employee to also becoming an investor. Because over time, ownership creates wealth in ways wages alone often cannot. Rule number 2. Inflation rewards ownership. You ever heard someone say, things used to cost so much less? That's inflation. Over time, the prices of goods and services generally rise. If your money simply sits in cash year after year, its purchasing power gradually decreases. Meanwhile, businesses that own productive assets often increase prices over time. That's one reason investors can benefit, while people holding only cash slowly lose purchasing power. Understanding inflation isn't about fear, it's about recognizing why simply saving money isn't always enough to build long-term wealth. Rule number 3. The system rewards investors different. Life conversation also highlights another important idea. Employees earn income through their work. Investors earn income through ownership. These forms of income can be treated differently within the financial system, which is one reason many wealthy individuals focus on building investments over time, not replacing work, but adding ownership alongside it. The key message isn't to stop working. It's to use income from your job as a foundation for gradually becoming an investor yourself, escaping the financial danger zone. Before building wealth, you need stability. The discussion describes a financial danger zone. This is the situation where a single unexpected expense, a car repair, medical bill, or emergency forces someone into debt because they don't have a financial cushion. That's why the first priority isn't chasing luxury, it's creating breathing room. Building an emergency fund gives you options. It reduces stress, and it prevents small setbacks from becoming long-term financial problems. A mindset shift few people want. A hard conversation makes a challenging point. If someone doesn't yet have a basic emergency fund, it may be necessary to temporarily cut back on discretionary spending. Not because small subscriptions alone create wealth, but because reclaiming both money and time can help accelerate financial recovery. The emphasis is on urgency, prioritizing long-term stability over short-term comfort until a stronger financial foundation is in place. Here's a question that could change the way you think about every paycheck. When your salary arrives, do you already know exactly where every dollar is going, or do you simply look at your balance and decide what to spend? That one difference separates many people who struggle financially from those who steadily build wealth. Because wealthy people don't wait until they receive money to decide what to do with it. They already have a system, and systems beat willpower every single time. Wealth starts with a plan, not more income. One of the biggest financial mistakes people make is believing they need a higher income before they need a financial plan. But think about it, if someone earning $50,000 has no system, they'll likely waste a portion of it. If they suddenly earn $100,000 without changing their habits, they'll probably waste even more. Income doesn't solve financial problems. Good habits do. That's why creating a money system comes before chasing a bigger paycheck. Because when more income eventually arrives, your system is already designed to put every dollar to work. The 75-15-10 framework. The conversation introduces a simple framework that can help organize every dollar you earn. Here's how it works. 75% is the maximum you allow yourself to spend on everyday living expenses. 15% is the minimum you direct toward investing for the future. 10% is reserved for savings and emergencies. The percentages aren't presented as a shortcut to instant wealth. Instead, they're meant to create consistency. Whether someone earns $40,000 a year or $400,000, the habit remains the same. Because financial success isn't built by making one perfect decision. It's built by making thousands of consistent ones. Why 3 bank accounts matter. Here's a surprisingly simple trick. Instead of keeping all your money in one account, separate it. One account for spending, one for savings, one for investments. Why? Because money sitting together creates temptation. You see a large balance, you convince yourself you can afford something expensive, and before you realize it, you've accidentally spent money that was meant for your future. Separating your money removes that mental trap. Each dollar already has a job. And when every dollar has a purpose, financial discipline becomes much easier. Savings won't make you wealthy. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts in the entire conversation. Savings are essential, but savings alone don't create wealth. Think of savings as your safety net. They're there to protect you when life throws unexpected challenges your way. Investments, on the other hand, are designed to grow over time. In simple terms, savings provide security, investments create growth. You need both, but they serve completely different purposes. The rule of 5-0. Let's talk about luxury purchases. The conversation introduces a simple rule that can prevent expensive financial mistakes. Before buying a luxury item, ask yourself, could I comfortably afford 5 of these? If the answer is no, you probably can't truly afford one. This isn't about avoiding nice things forever. It's about making sure luxuries never become financial burdens. Real wealth is having choices, not expensive possessions that create stress every month. More income only helps if you keep the system. Eventually, everyone wants to earn more. Maybe it's a promotion, a second income, a business, freelancing, or using AI to create new opportunities. Those are all valuable goals. But here's the critical point. If your spending grows every time your income grows, you'll always feel broke. The key is continuing the same financial system as your earnings increase. Instead of increasing your lifestyle with every raise, increase your investments. That's how wealth quietly compounds over time. Protecting the wealth you build. Building wealth is only part of the journey. Keeping it is equally important. As your finances grow, you'll eventually need to think about taxes, legal protection, estate planning, and how your assets will be managed or passed on in the future. True wealth isn't just about earning money. It's about protecting what you've built and creating something that lasts beyond your own lifetime. That's where financial planning becomes long-term wealth planning. By now, you've learned something most people never fully understand. Hard work matters. But hard work alone doesn't create wealth. Value creates wealth. Ownership creates wealth. Systems create wealth. Now comes the final piece of the puzzle. How do you actually invest? Because knowing why investing matters is one thing. Knowing how to start is what changes your future. The biggest investing mistake beginners make. When most people think about investing, they imagine finding the next Apple, the next Amazon, or the next Nvidia. They believe wealth comes from picking one perfect stock. But according to the discussion, that's one of the hardest ways to invest successfully. Even experienced professionals get individual stock picks wrong. Instead, the recommendation is much simpler. Own small pieces of many companies at once through diversified index funds. Rather than betting everything on one winner, you're participating in the growth of hundreds of businesses. It's a strategy built on patience instead of prediction, and over long periods. Patience has historically been one of the most powerful financial advantages anyone can have. Time is your greatest investment. One of the biggest misconceptions about investing is expecting quick results. Real wealth isn't usually built in months. It's built over years, even decades. The discussion emphasizes that money invested for the long term has historically had a much better chance of benefiting from overall market growth than money needed in the near future. That's why short-term savings and long-term investing should have different purposes. If you expect to need the money soon, it shouldn't be exposed to long-term market risk. But if your goal is building wealth for the future, time becomes one of your greatest allies. Should you buy a home? For years, people repeated the same advice. Renting is throwing money away. But the conversation presents a more balanced perspective. Buying a home isn't only a financial decision, it's also an emotional one. For some people, owning a home provides stability, security, and peace of mind. For others, renting offers flexibility and freedom to pursue new opportunities without being tied to one location. Neither choice is automatically right. The important question is whether the numbers and your lifestyle support the decision. A home can be a wonderful place to live, but it shouldn't automatically be viewed as the only path to building wealth. A 6-month financial reset. If someone wanted to completely change their financial situation, the discussion outlines a practical order of priorities. First, build an emergency cushion, then eliminate high-interest debt. After that, begin investing consistently for the future. The sequence matters. Without a financial cushion, unexpected expenses often lead back into debt. Without controlling expensive debt, investing becomes much harder. And without investing, it's difficult to benefit from long-term growth. Each step builds on the one before it. That's how lasting financial stability is created, not through shortcuts, but through consistency. 3 ways people waste money. The conversation also highlights 3 common spending habits that quietly slow financial progress. The first is buying things mainly to impress other people. The second is constantly upgrading perfectly functional possessions simply because something newer exists. And the third is paying for a brand name when the practical purpose of the item could be met just as well without the premium price. The message isn't to avoid enjoying life, it's to become intentional. Before every purchase, ask yourself, am I buying this because it genuinely improves my life, or because I want someone else to notice it? That single question can transform your spending habits over time. Success doesn't happen overnight. Perhaps the most encouraging lesson in the entire conversation has nothing to do with investing. It's about patience. Many people in their 20s feel like they're already behind. They compare themselves to entrepreneurs on social media. They compare themselves to friends who seem more successful. They compare themselves to people whose stories they only see after years of invisible struggle. But the reminder here is simple: your 20s aren't meant to be perfect. They're meant for learning, experimenting, making mistakes, finding what you're truly good at. Growth rarely follows a straight line. Rejection isn't proof that you're failing. Often, it's part of becoming the person capable of succeeding. The final lesson. There's one final message that ties everything together. You can build a successful career. You can create financial security. You can enjoy meaningful relationships. You can live a balanced life. But you probably won't achieve all of those things at the exact same time. Different seasons of life require different priorities. Some years are for learning. Some are for building. Some are for investing. And eventually, if you stay consistent, those years begin to compound just like your money. Because wealth isn't created by one lucky break. It is created by thousands of disciplined decisions repeated over many years. Outro: if you found value in today's video, remember this: stop chasing the illusion that working harder alone will make you wealthy. Instead, learn valuable skills, create more impact, build systems, become an owner whenever possible, invest consistently, and most importantly, give yourself enough time for those decisions to compound. Because the wealthiest people don't simply work harder than everyone else. They think differently. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insights on building wealth, mastering money, and creating long-term financial freedom.